Hello everyone. Today I'll show you how I implement features, specifically cards, for my mobile game called Card Game 3, where it's basically a turn-based fantasy uh, game played on the same device, so you can play with friends wherever you are, as long as you have an Android phone with like Android 11. Yeah, in this video I'll show you how I implemented the Berserker card and its trait. So yeah, I'll just hop into Android Studio real quick. So first off, I start by creating its trait called Adrenaline. Basically, what this is gonna do is make it so whenever the Berserker falls below 30% of its max health, it's gonna gain uh, 20 or 30% health. So I have a trait class that has basically some hookup methods that I can override to specify what I want to happen in specific game events. In this case, I want to modify the outgoing damage. I check when it's below a certain value, and then I just return the correct amount. The trait system basically is a list of passive effects that a card can have throughout the whole game. Right now you can see how I'm struggling to do basic math. I don't know why it took me so long to figure out that part of the code. But in the end, the whole thing got scrapped. I mean, the code got scrapped and integrated into the combat system so it can be reused by other cards. Now, once that was done, I move on implementing the Berserker card. Every card has its icon, which I get from Android's icon store assets thing, where it's free. And yeah, every card has one, as well as a color and also some basic stats, and also like a radar graph that indicates like their damage, the card's survivability, it's how much it's support or control, and how hard it's to use. Also, every card has an active ability, a passive ability, and an ultimate. So I'll start off by implementing the active ability. Each ability has a name and description. The description obviously has like some variable arguments that are passed and solved when you like click the card's info button. The active ability is gonna perform some rapid attacks, which greatly decrease in damage. Uh, yeah, and also the the values are stored in a companion object, so I can easily modify numerical values and not have to like search through the code to see what does what. It's a pretty handy system. You can see now I'm writing the code that tells to repeat the attacks and then reduce the damage. Now here's the part where I'm thinking about how to implement this thing. For some reason, it took me a lot of time, but in the end, we did it. Yay, hooray. Yeah, yes, since I don't want the attack to happen one after another, I'm gonna add a quick delay. Once that was done, I moved on to the passive ability. The passive ability is called Battle Cry, and what it's gonna do is increase the team's rage and also clear all of the negative effects that the card uh, is being used, has the ability that's being used on. And it's gonna have two charges because it's quite a strong ability. And yeah, it basically means that it takes like a couple of turns before you can actually use it. And since it's gonna have some parameters, I'm also gonna declare those outside of the class in a companion object. You have two charges, and it's gonna increase the rage by 12. And once that was done, I have some function in an effect manager class, which allow me to control effects quite easily. So now I can just tell it to clear the negative effects from the target, which is the entity the ability is being used on. Of course, it's an ally, and also to increase the rage of the team by 12. And was a pretty easy ability to make. And once that's done, I could move on onto the ultimate ability, which is probably the hardest, because it uh, it makes the character perform its ability on the enemy with the highest amount of health, but it also increases the team's rage by 4 for every time it hits. But since the the combat system is something that happens in an isolated function, I had to hook up the methods with more parameters that accept like the rage increase and the damage fall off, which is something I didn't do here because I didn't know it at first. So after I recorded this, I went back and changed the function so that instead of being like a repeat block, it's directly integrated in the deal damage function, which makes it so that the attacker doesn't like perform its attack animation multiple times, and it just goes there, attacks, and then it comes back for like all the 4 or 5 times it does that. So I defined the amount of rage to increase. Now uh, I need to oh yeah, it also grants the Berserker the overloaded effect, which basically increases the damage it deals, but also the damage it can receive by 30%. And once that was done, I wrote a function to obtain a reference to the strongest enemy. It's an optional value because if an enemy has like a vanish effect, and there's only one enemy left, and that enemy has the vanish effect, I learned that it can crash. I learned that from experience. And now I also refactor in the active ability to use the function which will uh, do the main attack, since it's gonna be basically the same effect for both the active and the ultimate ability. And now I realize that first of all, yeah, it needs to be a suspended function, but also right now it cannot be used since it's declared within the class body. It needs to be in the companion object. So yeah, I wrote the activity function which accepts an add rage parameter, which is used only, which is set to true only for the super. And when set to true, it will increase the rage by the amount specified. And yeah, since it's gonna perform one extra attack as opposed to the active ability, I just wrote one plus. Oh no, this is to get the number of times I want to repeat the attack, since it's gonna it's gonna repeat if the team has one or more dead teammates. Right now, a team has like 3 characters at max, so it's gonna happen either once or twice, but who knows, maybe in the future it can increase, so it'll work even then when it's higher. Now it's in an optional block, so it's gonna run only when it finds the strongest enemy, if there is one, of course. No, that's just a safety check, and yeah, that's done. So now just updating the radar stats, and now I can move on to checking out like the trying out the actual card in game. So this is the selection screen. I choose the Berserker and some other cards that apply debuffs or buffs so that I can try out the ability, its ultimate ability. So right now I attack with the Paladin, which applies a debuff, and also Mr. Kettle, which applies another debuff, which prevents the card from using its ultimate ability. And now I'm charging its passive. So you can see there's 2 notches, and when it's 2 out of 2, it charges, and it increased my rage even more. I used the passive on my paladin, which removed the negative effect that it had. and as the as the bar charges, now it's full, and I can use the Berserker's ultimate to perform its active 5 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which only deals one, but it's not the damage that counts, like the rage gain that you, the rage that you gain. Yeah. So that's it. You can see the graph here. Yeah, thanks for watching.